make sure he eats. If he doesn't eat, he will lose too much weight and he will run into a few health problems. So we're doing this once a day at this stage. So there he is. So what Ellie is doing is just going to put its beak. We've got two types of diet, I guess, at the moment, two formulations. The first one that the chick has got its beak in is what we call our normal Kiwi diet. So that's made up of beef heart mince. There's some rolled oats and mixed veggies and vitamins and minerals. The second one, which at the chick stage they prefer, is beef heart strips. So you might have seen me in the kitchen. I was chopping up sort of a piece of beef heart, and I was cutting them into strips to kind of replicate worms, and that's what they seem to like at the moment. So we're just giving him a couple of minutes to see if he takes the normal diet. Failing that, we will sneak some strips into his beak, and based on what we've seen over the last couple of days, he'll have a feeding response and he'll take those strips. So of course he's a North Island brown Kiwi still, even though he's white. His parents are in the reserve, so we've got a wild population of Kiwis in our reserve that's been reintroduced. The Kiwi were formerly missing from the reserve, having become extinct due to predators. So when man came to New Zealand, unfortunately they brought a whole lot of predators with them. So we've got introduced mammals like cats, ferrets, stoats and dogs. So unfortunately they're having quite a significant impact on our Kiwi populations in New Zealand. So in unmanaged areas where there's no predator control, for example, there's reports of 95% of Kiwi chicks being killed before they're 6 months of age. So to help our Kiwis recover, we've got 5 species, all 5 are threatened to varying degrees. So to help the Kiwis recover, we've started a restoration project here at Pukaha Mount Bruce. And the first job for us was to reduce the predator numbers. So we put over 500 traps in the reserve, targeting mostly ferrets and stoats. So they're our number 2 most important predators that are affecting Kiwi. So once we got the numbers down, we started reintroducing Kiwis. The first Kiwi came from zoos and wildlife parks around New Zealand, and then we did we transferred 30 birds off Little Barrow Island in 2011. So that's boosted our Kiwi population. We reckon we've got at least 50 birds running around out there at the moment. I think we're going to start. Okay, so he doesn't seem that motivated about the diet, so I'm just going to whip in here and put some strips in his beak, and you'll be able to hopefully see this guy eating. So you can see he has a bit of trouble at the start, so that's why we kind of have to help him out a bit. So to help Kiwis recover in our reserve, we've started what we call Operation Nest Egg. So once we know we've got incubating males, the male does all the incubation in Kiwi. So once we know we've got incubating males, we head out into the reserve at 65 days and remove the egg. So the whole incubation period is 75 to 80. So he's really working at getting that down. He hasn't quite got the hang of it. Now he's trying to kick it out of his beak. Here we go. Okay. So the eggs, once we remove them from the nest, they come down here to our incubation room. And we incubate them for a couple of weeks. And they hatch out fully feathered and their eyes are open. It's kind of... That's better. So they hatch out fully feathered and their eyes are open. And they're incredibly wet because they've just of course hatched out from an egg. They're quite tired because the hatching process can take up to 5 days. So from hatch to about day 4, they just spend their time in a dryer, just it's heated. Starts off about 34 degrees, which is quite warm, and then we reduce it down to 24. At that stage, they've recovered, they've built up a bit of energy, the feathers are dried out, and they're ready to go into our brooder room, which is where I am now. I wasn't even doing the hook thing actually. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah.
So the job in the brooder room is to get them eating that artificial diet. Once they have started to learn that it is a food item, because that's part of the problem, they start gaining weight, of course. At that point we can move them outside to an outside enclosure. Okay, give them more.
Take the one out?
Yep. Or slip another one in. Cool. You can push it back more if you want. Oops. So from the outside enclosure, really in the outside enclosures they're predator free. We're just growing them on. So we're waiting for them to reach 1200 grams. And at 1200 grams they are big enough to be released back into the reserve. And the reason why 1200 grams is important is because at that stage they can defend themselves against stoats. So stoats is the #1 predator for kiwi chicks. So the whole Operation Nest Egg program is about trying to eliminate that vulnerable stage in their life cycle, which is the chick stage. And if we could do that, they've got a much better chance of surviving and growing up to hopefully produce some more eggs for themselves and create that healthy, self-sustaining population that we're trying to achieve in our reserve. So once, when they are released, just prior to release, we attach a little transmitter to one of their legs, so that just allows us to track them. We've got 942 hectares out there, so it's a big reserve. Of course they're nocturnal. During the day they're hiding out in a burrow underground. So the transmitters just help us find those birds. Cool, getting the hang of it. Shall I try?
Yeah,
And if he doesn't, we'll just, he's had enough. So I'm more than happy with what he's had.
These are very quiet, aren't they?
Yes. So I can't hold his beak, I think it's enough. Hold his beak, use the tweezers to pop that open,
Yep.
then drag it through. And I think it's enough, I'm more than happy with that. Okay, so that's it. We've got some food into him. Early stages for this guy. He actually gained a bit of weight yesterday, so we're quite happy. So we'll just put him back in the brooder and he can go back to sleep, and we'll check on him again tomorrow and see if he needs some encouragement in feeding, but hopefully overnight he'll start picking up food by himself. Okay, thank you.